We have the Gemini New Moon coming at the Twin Flame Collective today, and the Divine Masculine has the star. It kind of feels like the Divine Masculine is wishing on something. He can't quite name it yet, but I do think it's you, Divine Feminine, and I do think he is quietly healing, guided by a hope that he doesn't fully understand just yet. And so there's a distance here, but I do think he's turning this whisper of his soul into destined action. Divine Feminine, you are remembering who you are. You are ready, I want to say, to step fully into your power, to alchemize all of that pain, to turn it into your magic. And you are calling in your highest timeline, whether it includes the Divine Masculine or not. And there is something here unbalanced that needs to be brought back into balance. And this new moon is asking, I feel both of the counterparts, what are you really prioritizing? Is it fear or is it faith? Is it ego or is it evolution? Because this new moon is calling the twins into union, but it's always going to start from within. And so are you ready to receive today's message? Let's go a little bit further with the tarot and the astrology. Hit that like button and I'll see you on the other side. Hey, welcome in, welcome back everybody. It is Laura and we are going to dig right into these new moon in Gemini energies for the Twin Flame Collective. As you can see, I have kind of examined all of the moon aspects here right up on the screen beside me. So let's break this new moon down, because I do feel we are in this sacred invitation energy. And we are in this energy of needing to make a choice, because this new moon is at 6 degrees orb 5, which is carrying with it the vibration of the Lovers card with the Hierophant. And the Lovers is always a choice. And the Hierophant is asking us to choose what it is that we are going to be committed to. And so we're kind of invoking the next layer or the next level of these spiritual sacred contracts. And they're kind of in review. And there is like this merging of dualities taking place for this new moon for the twins. And so I do want to break it down layer by layer. So feel free to hit that subscribe button, like button, and comment on the video down below. Let me know how you've been feeling these energies recently. But we do have a timeline fork in the road is really what this message is saying today. And so new moons are all about planting the seed. And I do believe this is the fork in the road where a choice or a decision kind of needs to be made. And so this is all about soul aligned union. And I've been getting downloads like crazy. We had Mercury in a conjunction to Uranus and Taurus over the weekend. And this conjunction was taking place in my 3rd house. And I was getting massive downloads all day on Saturday, jotting down all kinds of ideas, all kinds of new awakened wisdom and new ideas for the channel. And now this new moon is about planting that seed for these conscious commitments, whether it's just that commitment for your path, your purpose, or commitment within a relationship, because I do feel there's going to be those unexpected realizations that probably got downloaded for you on the weekend. But we do need to keep in mind the twin flame journey is a sacred path of mission work. It is a path of being of spiritual service, and it is a path of self-mastery. And so I do feel under the new moon in Gemini, the Divine Feminine is being asked to merge your intuition with the structure that you have built on your spiritual path, okay? Because all of this divine knowledge has to be grounded in, and you have to actually step into that embodiment of the Divine Feminine healer and teacher. And so this is an inner union journey for the Divine Feminine. And I do feel it is deepening with the seeds that we plant under this new moon in Gemini. And so when you anchor in all of these new light codes that we took in, and we anchor in the energy of unconditional love, then it triggers that sacred remembrance in all of the people that we choose to work with and activate along the way. And I do feel for the Divine Masculine, he's the one really at that crossroads energy, right? And so he's kind of being summoned by the anchoring of the Divine Feminine into this higher order of commitment. Whether he chooses the path or not, that's entirely up to the Divine Masculine, because everybody does have free will in the 3rd dimensional world when it comes to this journey. But I do feel he's at a crossroads connected to his soul mission. And this moon energy, I have to say, feels like it's going to be catalyzing some type of spiritual awakening that's going to crack that ego shell, that's going to push him towards this higher learning and this emotional maturity. So let's break down this new moon transit by transit, and we will start by looking at the quincunx to Lilith and Scorpio. So we can see this new moon is happening in the 5th house of Taurus, and we do have this Queen of Wands, 10 of Wands energy connected to our creative journey, right? The 5th house is the house of fun. It's the house of children. It's the house of gambling, taking risks. It's the house of sex. And so right now we have all of this energy sitting in the 5th house in a quincunx to Lilith in the 10th house. And the 10th house is the house of our public image. It's where we step into the spotlight within our career. And we do see Lilith sitting at 6 degrees 47. And so this is the energy of the Lovers with the 7 of Cups. And so I do kind of feel this is stirring something up connected to the unconscious, shadowy parts of the journey, right? And we do see the 10th house sitting at Scorpio there at 0 degrees 26, carrying with it this energy, I do have to say, of like the Fool and the Page of Wands. And so there is an opportunity to take that leap of faith, to start a brand new creative process, a brand new creative journey, stepping into that public image, right? But it's a page. And so it's going to take a lot of hard work. And so there's a lot of these inspirational ideas being downloaded, but we do have to take that leap of faith. And it is kind of feeling like that free fall. And it's kind of like Alice going through the looking glass, right? And so we're going to have to decipher which direction we're going to go into, right? Because this is a moon of choices and duality. And with that 7 of Cups energy, I do feel there's going to be a lot of shadowy desires that we're going to have to sift through. It is the energy, I want to say, of disillusionment. There's a karmic echo of a lot of illusions that we're going to have to kind of wade our way through under the new moon. Quincunxes are a very difficult energy to work through. I'm not going to say like a super hard aspect, but it's an inconjunct. So something here isn't quite feeling right. And there's almost like this push-pull dynamic between that clarity and that confusion about making that choice. And so there's like a push-pull dynamic, I want to say too, between intimacy and detachment. And so I do feel this is the precipice where the divine feminine kind of confronts all of the romanticized part of the journey, right? And having to look at maybe where you have spiritually bypassed aspects of the connection. This really is a call, I do want to say, for the feminine to own her power, step into her power, and to discern that illusion from that truth. And I do feel the divine masculine is definitely overwhelmed, whether it's by choices or seeing the divine feminine have a lot of choices and possibly a lot of new suitors coming on her path. And I do feel he's also going to have to sift through the fantasy, right? The fantasy and the emotional intensity of this disillusionment. And so the Lilith energy, I do feel, is pushing the divine masculine to face all of those repressed desires and his fears around owning his own inner feminine power and intimacy and trust and all of that good stuff. And so there's also that quincunx. If we go further along the wheel, we're going to go to that second blue line, which is a quincunx now, an inconjunct aspect touching the ascendant in Capricorn at 4 degrees 40. And so this brought forward that energy of the Emperor and the Page of Cups. And what I really kind of went into in this energy was that higher dimensional union connected to the divine masculine, where I do feel this is triggering a lot of spiritual remembrance. Capricorn ascendant, let me just say, it brings structure. It brings discipline. That is the energy of the masculine, the Emperor energy. And the Page of Cups, I do feel, is that whisper of the past life love and the innocence before that first inner wounded child was kind of repressed, right? And so there is a higher dimensional path unfolding, is what I feel. And there's a lot of soul memory awakening within both of the twins. And so divine feminine, you're probably getting those sudden downloads. I know I've been getting all kinds of downloads, all kinds of deja vu, all kinds of timeline merging when it comes to the Gnostics of the journey and the past esoteric knowledge that we're here to reawaken on the journey as that healer. And so there's an emotional openness, I want to say, that is really the key that you're holding right now under the new moon in Gemini. And there's a softness within this structure for you. And so the divine masculine, I feel, is in this heavy weighted energy of responsibility. And there is this call of the soul kind of stirring within him, which is activating, I do feel, the inner remembrance, right? Of why he came here and of the divine masculine, or of the divine feminine herself. And so this is pushing the divine masculine, I want to say, towards that deeper awakening. And then we go to the next line. It's a teal colored line. You can see it right there on the screen. And we do have the new moon in a trine to Pluto, which is retrograde in Aquarius at 3 degrees 42. And so there's a remembrance or looking back to the past of the divine feminine and this soul union, because this is carrying with it the Empress and the Two of Cups. And so there is a deep soul remembrance here, because we do also see Mercury sitting at 2 degrees 20, the High Priestess, under the energy of judgment, also in a trine to Pluto. And this is going to be exact tomorrow, the day after the new moon. And so there's like a deep inner sense of knowing, right? There's higher communication coming in. There's telepathic communication. And the Pluto retrograde is bringing forward this regenerative flow. And Pluto retrograde is all about inner transformation. And so there is this soul blueprint of union being reactivated. And this is really showing, I feel, that the divine feminine has really activated and opened up that heart space. And she's magnetizing that union from within, is what this is telling me. This is where the divine feminine plants that seed to fully step into her divine sovereignty. And that inner union will kind of trigger or bring in that outer magnetism. It's all about self-love for you, divine feminine. It's all about your creative process, your emotional wholeness. That's what draws the divine masculine closer to you on a soul level, whether he realizes what is going on or not, okay? And then the Pluto energy is pressurizing the divine masculine, I feel, to transform out of the old, outdated programs, right? Because Mercury is our beliefs as well. It's our belief patterns, and so restructuring, right? And then its home sign of Gemini is very mutable. And so there's an outdated paradigm about love and relationships that the divine masculine, 1111 on the timer when I looked up, has to transcend. And so he is feeling pulled, I want to say, towards the divine feminine with this sense of destiny. Even if he doesn't understand it, even if there's still silence and ghosting, there is that soul level stirring happening, right? And then lastly, let's talk about this semi-square, because we do have this semi-square to Venus happening, right? And we've got Venus sitting at 20 degrees 20, judgment, double judgment energy, Ace of Wands, Page of Swords energy. It's sitting in the third house. Once again, the third house of communication, neighbors, cousins, brothers, right? The brotherhood, the sisterhood of the rose. And so there is a frictional activation, right? Because the semi-square isn't quite a square, but it's not a very comfortable energy to be working with, right? It does create tension, but that tension actually creates the momentum, right? Because you're not quite fully boxed into that square. And so Venus in Aries is bold. It's raw. It's a little bit impatient, sometimes impish. But with the judgment energy combination coming in here, with that fiery Ace of Wands that I see, there's a lot of truth being revealed as part of this rebirth of desire within these connections. And so this is the divine feminine reclaiming her power, reclaiming her voice, her passion. And this is an invitation for you, divine feminine, to start speaking your truth, even if it's just to yourself, right? There's clarity over confusion, I feel. And this is where the divine masculine is really going to be feeling triggered, right? And he's going to be feeling that energetic push by all of the growth that you have gone through, divine feminine, and you owning your self-expression. And so it's kind of judgment day for his passivity and his fear is what I feel in this transit. This is going to spark something, whether it's sexual or emotional or both, right? And with Mercury in that trine to Pluto, which is going to be exact tomorrow, this is pretty significant divine communication connected to these soul truths. And so the High Priestess, Mercury and Gemini, this is channeling that wisdom energy. And it really is through this deep intuitive knowing. And Pluto Pluto is insisting that we unearth and drudge up what was buried, connected to this truth that has been buried, right? And so the day after the new moon, it's going to birth into that energy of the Empress with the Ace of Cups. And that's the overflow of the heart chakra. That is the fertile ground for this emotional rebirth and this brand new beginning in love. And it is all about self-love for you, Divine Feminine. And so you are the oracle, okay? You are the oracle, Divine Feminine. Your inner knowing is supposed to be razor sharp. So now is the perfect time to journal, automatic write, channel, integrate all of these downloads that are coming in, right? Ground them in, because your heart is opening in this perfect divine timing, right? And the divine masculine is going to be experiencing either these spontaneous signs and synchronicities or these spontaneous insights, I feel. But if he's open, if the divine masculine is open, and so this is the initiation of the deeper, higher heart activation, I feel, and that realization that's going to transcend all of the logical over analysis paralysis to reconnect him to the love and the vulnerability I feel in his heart. And so this really is the portal opening for that reconnection for the counterparts. I do feel that, and it might not necessarily happen in 3D, but the soul timelines are collapsing, connected to all of the past life karma. These sacred contracts are in a major divine review, I feel. And I do feel the majority of the divine masculines, they are awakening through the shadow, through the confusion, as all of this ancestral memory kind of comes back online. And I do feel you are being asked, Divine Feminine, to hold that sacred emotional truth. Hold your truth with compassion. Hold your truth with sovereignty, because the choices are already made. The illusions are going to have to be shattered so that clarity can be gained. And I do feel this integration is always going to follow the revelations, right? So ground in your downloads, Divine Feminine. Ground them in. Share your truth. I do want to say work with rose quartz and blue lace agate, or even possibly moonstone, because that's really going to help you channel your truth. Through that writing, or through activating your voice, or starting a channel, or sharing your truth online on some sort of social media platform. Let your softness, your divine feminine essence be your strength in these energies. And divine masculine, you really need to create that space for that silence, because you have to stop avoiding, you have to stop escaping, and you really have to take that time to go within and reflect on your emotional truths that are surfacing, no matter how uncomfortable and discomforting this energy is. Because if we meditate together, merge together in 5D, and set those intentions for that clarity under this new moon, we can have that union come together for the path of higher service. And so visualize your life transforming. Visualize the union that you know will not only bless your path, but will bless the collective as a whole, because this is a big, big mission that the twins hold. And so let's go a little bit further with some oracle and some tarot messages. I did grab my Star Codes Astro Oracle deck and the Kyle Gray Sacred Activation cards. And so we're going to see what other messages do need to come through. If you are curious about learning more about astrology and digging into your birth chart and possibly applying what I'm talking about with these astrological channelings to your own personal journey, your own personal birth chart, just comment down below free guide. I do have a free guide to the 15 basics of the birth chart. It's just a simple guide. It's free. You just got to download it. If you're interested in that, just like I said, comment free guide down below. I do also have a 22-page twin flame ebook that I have written. And if you are curious more about the twin flame journey, the stages, the phases, and the fact that this is actually more than just romance, it is about mission, then comment twin flame book down below and I will send you the link to download my twin flame book. But let's jump in with the cards and let's see what else the universe has to say about this new moon in Gemini for the Twin Flame Collective. Let's break down this spread for the twin flames for the Gemini new moon. And we did get the second house card that did come out for the divine masculine. And the second house is all about resources. The second house is connected to Taurus energy. It is ruled by Taurus, the earthly element, and it is rooted in value, security, physical choices. It is how we look at our self-worth, right? Our bank account will usually be a reflection of our self-worth, and we see the imagery on the card of the stacked coins. We see the hand grasping this apple, which is pierced by an arrow, which to me is telling the story of temptation, of materialism, right? And so I do feel the divine masculine is at a very karmic fork in the road. The second house being about possessions and self-worth and physical comfort. And there is almost like a Page of Cups vibration being a 40 card. I do feel the divine masculine is awakening emotionally, but I do think he's still being a little bit immature on how he processes love versus survival. And so I kind of feel the divine masculine has likely chosen material stability and external validation and materialism over love, which is leading to, I want to say, a lot of emotional regret or soul dissonance in the energies under the new moon. And with the apple and the arrow, I do feel this is evoking both that Eve's temptation, going back to the garden, and the wound of Cupid, right? And so I feel he's grappling right now with his desires and the consequences of facing his past choices. And so there is a past life karma here surrounding the divine masculine connected to abuse of wealth, power, or possibly even privilege, which is likely surfacing right now for that healing, where he is kind of being called, I want to say, to redefine his worth through his spiritual values. And so this is not about status. And I do feel there's a hint or an undertone of emotional initiation, where I do think he is vulnerable, he's reflective, and he's likely beginning to see beyond the illusion of what security is, right? Because true wealth is an inside job. And so divine feminine, I love that the trine slash sextile card came out for you. It says symbiosis on the card, and it's a 52. And so there's that Queen of Swords energy that I talked about, that I channeled in the astrology. And so there's harmony for you. We see all of the white birds. So I'm here to say there's flow between all kinds of different dimensional realities. And so there's an easeful comic or cosmic, maybe it's a little bit funny, maybe you're like, what the heck, cosmic cooperation and integration here. And with the Queen of Swords vibration, this is you grounding in and speaking that wisdom, right? You are aligned with your truth. The Queen of Swords was the last card out too in the bottom row of the combined energies for the twins. And so this is you in tune. I want to say you're attuned, you're aligned with your truth, you're receiving spiritual downloads that is really allowing you to cut through the illusions and to anchor in that clarity. And so I kind of just say you're really much attuned to the higher frequencies. And this does definitely connect to the trine energy going on with Pluto. And so I do feel you're integrating a lot of Akashic guidance, a lot of higher divine truth, and a lot of karmic clarity, which is allowing you to maybe write or speak or do a lot of dream work. And I do feel this card is kind of giving you the energy of discernment with emotional mastery and maturity, where you kind of know your worth and you're not afraid to walk the walk and talk the talk and walk in your truth. And so there's a very calm, receptive energy as I hold this card, like a very calm, receptive vibration I feel surrounding the divine feminine, which is allowing you. It's allowing, right? It's not a forceful energy. There's a lot of trust in divine timing, I feel, on your end as all of this karma unfolds, because the combined energy is the karma card. It is the Saturn card. It is all about restructuring. It is all about time. And this does definitely have a hint or a reflection of Saturn's ingress into Aries that just took place on the weekend. And so 5D, 3D lessons kind of converging. And so this is a malefic planet, right? Saturn is malefic. It holds us accountable. It restricts us. It asks for discipline and structure. And it is the spiritual authority. It's like the cosmic accountant of all of the planets in the universe. And so for this, for this being the combined energy for the twin flame connection, this is showing that karmic checkpoint, right? Where the universe is asking for the balancing of the karmic scales. And so I do feel the divine masculine is facing past life and present life consequences connected to all of his misaligned and misguided choices. And Saturn is the great teacher too, right? It is the spiritual school, the spiritual schooling. So the masculine, I want to say, is getting schooled, okay? Divine feminine, I think you're kind of receiving your dharma, because I feel a Queen of Wands energy. I feel this energy coming through of like spiritual rewards, or even like upgraded lesson energy from having walked the path for so long in integrity. And so together, the union, the foundation of this union is being tested. Is it going to evolve? Are you going to really ground in what is true for your evolution? Will the false finally dissolve? I feel that's kind of in question. And so I think this is a card representing like a rite of passage today. And Saturn is never really about punishment. It is about walking through the karma, right? We can't avoid the karma. We can't avoid the spiritual lessons. We can't bypass it. And so I do feel both of the twins are being guided towards a deeper alignment, even if it looks like separation. And sometimes the separation happens for a lengthy period of time. But the bottom of the deck, we got the Venus card, which is the card of the beloved. It's a 21 card. And so there is a world energy here. There is this card, I want to say, is like just oozing and dripping with closure, fulfillment, and divine feminine ascension. And so Venus as the beloved, and we have Venus in Aries, and we did have that semi-square to Venus in Aries, which was bringing forward the 2020, where everything is 2020 in hindsight vision. And so there is a very powerful magnetic force here coming forward through the divine feminine, which is the force that does unite the twins, whether they realize it or not. And so the divine feminine, I feel, has completed her karmic cycle. She's in the energy of integration, mastery, harnessing that sacred self-love. You're not chasing, you're attracting, your heart is open, but you don't want that fantasy. No, you only want that high vibrational match, right? You're not going to settle for anything less than that vibrational frequency match. And so the universe is probably preparing to bring you in a soul-aligned partner. I do feel that's what this new moon is bringing in for the divine feminines who are aligned. And whether it's the divine masculine stepping up or just a high frequency soulmate. And I got all kinds of downloads about that, and I'll probably share that information in a separate video. But I do feel there's a lot of hidden feelings of love and longing that are probably coming from the divine masculine that are surfacing. But he might still choose to be silent in the 3D. It's hard to tell, right? So I kind of just feel the oracle cards are definitely showing that the divine masculine is at a crossroads. He's at a karmic fork in the road where he is being nudged towards truth and to leave temptation behind and materialism behind. Whether he chooses to do that or not, I don't know. The divine feminine, you are being fully supported, I want to say, in these higher realms. And you are being called to embody discernment, right? And to step into grace and sovereignty and trust that karma is being dealt, right? Karma always gets dealt out, and we don't get to control the timing of karma. But let me tell you, karma never loses an address. And those that have wronged the twins on the journey, they eventually get theirs, whether we see that happening or not. And so this really is saying Saturn is ensuring that karmic balance. And this is a card and a time of cosmic justice. And love is still the hidden force with Venus on the bottom of the deck. Love is still the hidden force, right? And the union energy is always there and alive, but alignment is always going to be key to the manifestation of the coming together in the 3D. So let's break down the divine masculines spread, the top row, the star, his current emotional and mental state. I think he's hoping, he's healing, he's looking towards the light, but he is still likely at a distance. And I do think this is connected to Pluto retrograde in Aquarius, which is also keeping the masculine a little bit at a distance here. But there's destiny, I do feel. There's alchemy, there's healing. There's something very divine around the divine masculine collective. Even if he doesn't understand it logically, there's a lot of divine, universal healing energy around him. And he might be quietly praying or wishing for peace or wishing for a reunion, but he hasn't taken those concrete steps or actions yet. But his higher self, I want to say, is very, very active under this new moon. And the opportunity available, the Page of Wands reversed, and so there's still hesitation. I think there's still a certain level of immaturity or even fear around taking that inspired action. He may want to reach out and he may want to pursue you, but he's not. And maybe he's feeling blocked. Maybe he's feeling scattered or unsure. He could be being blocked by somebody behaving very emotionally, manipulatively, or immaturely. But I do feel there's an open window here for a soul level initiation if he releases the fear of vulnerability, right? I kind of feel he's lacking a little bit of confidence and not stalling the forward action. But what this new moon is revealing for the masculine is, I want to say, all of his unprocessed emotions. And I do feel there's some type of emotional codependency here with an external feminine energy that is surfacing. There's going to be a realization where maybe he's been emotionally manipulated or taken for granted, or where he hasn't even honored his own inner feminine longing. And I do feel this is due to him neglecting the divine feminine's emotions. And I do think he's being misused or abused, emotionally abused in some way from a very karmic feminine energy, even if it's just the echo of his own inner distorted feminine, his own inner dialogue. And I do feel this is emotional avoidance for sure. And that's not going to work anymore, right? And so I do feel this moon is asking him to feel it all fully, no matter how messy the emotions are, because the potential outcome is the revelation. We got the moon in reverse. This is the veil is shattering. The illusions are lifting. There is this energy of him seeing through the fog, seeing through the illusion, confronting the subconscious fears, working through the fears, especially connected to love, romance, trust, and deep, true intimacy. And so this truth is going to hit him hard. I think it's hitting him really, really hard, but it is going to come with a lot of clarity if he's willing, right? This is a huge, huge turning point for the divine masculine. And I love that the moon card came out for him. So divine feminine, your current emotional mental state is the Lover's reversed. I think you feel completely disconnected. That's where I'm at. Completely disconnected from the journey. There is no telepathy. There is no connection energetically at all between me and my counterpart. It's been like this for a while, but the void energy was very, very loud middle of last week for me. And I do feel once the divine feminine gets to this complete disconnect on the journey, this is when you have fully surrendered. So there's an energy of like complete and total surrender, of no longer wishing, no longer hoping, no longer resisting. You've lost all faith. It's almost like you're all done with the frustration. You know who the divine masculine is. You're all done with his resistance and you're done. So there's no more questioning. You're just in this energy of separation. And I think you've released all hope about this being even possible in this lifetime, but that's a really good place to be. Because that's usually when everything shifts on the flip side of the connection. And so there is also maybe a little bit of grief mixed with wisdom coming through for you as part of your releasing of any type of illusion of control, or even possibly of the divine masculine himself. Because the opportunity available for you is emotional liberation, I want to say. A chance to redefine what happiness is for you outside of any romantic fantasies or old timelines, right? This really is the chance for you to dream a brand new dream, right? And to manifest your happily ever after. Even if you don't know how it's going to look, even if it's not going to look like you originally imagined as part of this journey, but there's going to be something deeper available to you connected to emotional liberation and emotional stability, okay? Strength reversed. This is what the moon is revealing. I do think you are going to have to really break the chains of old coping mechanisms and people-pleasing patterns. That's what this new moon is revealing for you. So it might be feeling a little bit raw. You might be feeling tired. You might be feeling burnt out from having to hold the journey and hold it all together for such a long time. But this is revealing to you also, I want to say, your inner vulnerability. And it's asking you to surrender to the divine, right? Strength really is surrender, not force. And I love that the Magician came out for you for the overall potential outcome. And so power, manifestation, creation, and you are regaining your magic. You are realizing you have everything that you need. You can call anything in when you step into alignment, whether it's union or just your own ascended path. This is pure creator energy. You get to manifest from a place of self-worth, not from a place of lack. And so you can manifest anything that you want. So get ready for that. I think that's definitely connected to the Mercury trine Pluto energy happening the day after the new moon. So great energies around you, but you've got to just release how it's going to show up and who it's going to show up with, okay? But let's talk about the bottom row, because this is the combined energies of the twins. This is the current vibration of the connection, the Two of Pentacles reversed. There's still an imbalance here, and I do believe this is dropping the ball energetically. There could be too many external distractions. There could be emotional overwhelm. I do feel the connection is feeling a little bit unstable right now. But this is going to show what needs to be prioritized in order to have that inner alignment, divine feminine. And I kind of do feel the masculine's world is getting flipped upside down. And the world reversed is the karma between the twins. And so the cycle is still incomplete. Although the feminine has closed out the cycle, it's not a complete cycle until the masculine brings his lessons full circle as well. And so there's still a lot of unfinished business here at the soul level and in the 3D level. And so all of these past life echoes are repeating, calling for that closure and calling for that wisdom. And so until both of the counterparts own their karmic roles, the wheel's going to keep turning, right? Without that completion, whether the feminine completed it or not, right? And I might get into that in a whole other video for you guys, because like I said, the downloads were coming in connected to that karma. What if the masculine doesn't choose to ascend? What does that mean for the feminine? Can she actually be happy with a high vibration soulmate? And yes, I'm going to tell you, yes, you can, trust me. Okay. But there is, the wheel's going to keep turning without that full completion. So I guess it's in question, is the masculine going to complete the cycle? Because there is a hidden block here, and I want to say impatience. There's a lack of trust. There's a lack of harmony. The energies just aren't blending yet, because I do feel the masculine is still holding on to that egoic timeline and that emotional resistance. And so the lesson of temperance is divine timing for the divine feminine. Right? So keep going through the alchemy, the spiritual integration. That's what you need to do right now, because there's still some type of division, but I don't think it's connected to the divine feminine at this point in time. And so the path to union is the Queen of Swords and the Page of Cups in reverse. Truth and vulnerability, truth and reconciliation. And so discernment, emotional openness, but I do feel they have to be in balance to clear the way to union. And so the path to union is always through clear boundaries, emotional honesty. There's a lack of emotional honesty here, and I do think that's what the divine feminine is kind of exposing. And there needs to be some inner child healing, right? So you've got to learn to speak with love, and the divine masculine has to learn to stop hiding from his emotions and his inner child wounding and how he can emotionally express himself. And so that's going to be the path to union. Okay, activate that voice, divine feminine, and we are going to talk about the bottom of the deck. And we did get the Palace of Wands in reversed. There's some type of misaligned action or ego-driven action connected to the divine masculine. And I do feel that's kind of under reconstruction, because we did get the Six of Wands and the Tower reversed. And so there is a desire for reunion. There is a desire for recognition. I do feel the masculine does want to be seen for who he truly is. But this is the avoidance collapse, right? And so this is the collapse of that necessary ending that he's been resisting in order for the breakthrough. Because below that, we did get the Ace of Pentacles upright. And oh, look at that. There's the doorway opportunity for the union. And so a new beginning is possible, but when the old structures are actually truly released, right? And so the flame is always going to still burn between the twins. The soul is always going to want that union, but the foundation just have to be built on spiritual truth and not 3D egoic desires, right? So I do think there's a quiet awakening happening under the new moon with the divine masculine. And I do think there's some emotional confusion. And I do feel he is being tempted, right? He is being tempted in the 3D, connected to money or material things. And divine feminine, you're letting go. I think you're letting go. You're taking back your power. You're regaining your magic. You're redefining your vision of fulfillment for your life. And fulfillment is an inside job. What brings you fulfillment, right? And there is a karmic storm beneath the surface here in this connection, which is calling the counterparts into this deeper truth, into this balance and surrender. And so union is never lost. We're always in a state of transmuting something, right? The seed's already been planted, but the old structures do have to fall away. So let's talk about the last two cards that came out with the Gateway of Light activation deck. We got the Central Sun and the Thoth light codes, and both of these serve as a very profound spiritual transmission. This is like the guidance from the universe. And so the Central Sun is the abundance of the downloads. It is the regeneration. It is the success. And the scarab beetle rising towards the sun holds with it this cosmic rebirth symbolism. And so the Central Sun is the spiritual powerhouse of the universe. It is the source itself. And its appearance during the new moon speaks of divine alignment, quantum renewal, and that light body activation is really what I feel there. And so in ancient Egypt, the scarab beetle was symbolized by transformation, resurrection, and eternal life. It's known as Khepri, and it was believed to push the sun across the sky. Just as the beetle rolls its ball of dung, a sacred act of cosmic motion and creation, right? And so the scarab beetle is a reminder that every ending does birth a new beginning, and that death is not an end, but a return to source, right? And it links directly to the divine masculine's journey of regeneration, dying to his old ego-driven self and rising into that solar truth, because the divine masculine is the sun energy. And so he's being called to embody the sun archetype, the creative force, the divine presence and illumination, and to radiate that light across the cosmos. And so the divine masculine under this new moon is being called to awaken as that soul beacon. But he's going to have to shed the past shadows in order to embody that truth and his soul purpose. And I do think the divine masculine collective is rising. The universe is recalibrating their energetic field with a lot of solar consciousness, and they are being reprogrammed with this higher intelligence and being called to step into their radiance and to release that resistance. And so the top light codes came out for the weekend messages, I feel, for the Saturn energy that I posted on Saturday. If you missed it, go check it out. I'll tag it to the end. But it does speak of ancient wisdom, Atlantis, Egypt, being a sacred scribe. And so there's a lot of ancient Akashic memories being activated when it comes to this multidimensional mastery and multidimensional knowledge that the twins hold in their DNA codes. And there is this energy of the Atlantean high priest and the god of Egyptian wisdom, writing, and magic and sacred law being birthed through the divine masculine collective. And so Thoth was said to have been a high priest in Atlantis, where he preserved that divine knowledge before the fall of Atlantis. And so when Atlantis collapsed, Thoth did seed this wisdom into ancient Egypt, and it became an architect of sacred geometry. And so timekeeping, universal law, there is this energy of the Akashic records and karmic balance coming through under the new moon. And this energy, I feel, is really activating the divine feminines ascended wisdom as she channels in that truth with the trine energy and downloads these higher teachings and awakens to her soul gifts, and as she embodies that Queen of Swords, that magician energy, and brings that archetypal energy into real time. And so the divine masculine is being initiated into inner mastery, to step away from the ego and to allow his soul to remember that he was once a teacher, he was once a scribe and a keeper of knowledge. It's time to reclaim that divine masculine. And divine feminine, you are the one that holds the codes of the divine magic, of the truth, and all of the spiritual discernment. And you are the living bridge between heaven and earth. You are the channel and the creator. And so that's kind of what I got here, right? So let's just wrap it all up here, because I do feel the universal guidance for the twins is a reminder you're not just lovers. You're archetypes of new earth consciousness. And this new moon, I want to say, is the portal of that remembrance. So walk through it without fear. Walk through it with this deep knowing of this soul level reawakening and remembering the past life mastery and recalibrating that to your current divine mission. And that's going to be over any romantic longing, okay? So spend some time out in the sun. I know the sun's out today here while I'm recording. It's been pretty rainy and gloomy for about the last week. Visualize those light codes entering your crown chakra, bring them down into the solar plexus, and take back your power. Journal, speak out loud, do those positive affirmations, share your intuitive downloads. Thoth governs writing. So writing will activate your wisdom. Call upon your ancient past self. If you resonate with Atlantean timelines or Egyptian timelines, now is the time to reconnect through meditation with those timelines and ground in that sun energy. Ground it in. Honor the balance between all of these light codes and downloads and the memory, and bring that into that balanced yin and yang energy. And that's what I've got. So if you are ready to go further with me with a personal reading or a twin soul reading, check out the description box down below. You will see a link down there to my webpage. I also do offer one-on-one astrology mentorship, and I do offer twin flame coaching if those are anything that you are interested in. Just check out the webpage. Also, I'll quickly mention before I jump off of this reading that I do have a membership side to the channel. As you can tell, I'm no longer doing monthly zodiac readings like I was. I am now offering pulling into all 12 zodiac signs on the channel membership, where I go live every Thursday at noon. If you can't make it on the live, you can certainly catch the replay. It's a nice, fun, interactive place. I do answer questions as best as I can throughout the live. So go check it out if you'd like to join my online community over on the membership side. It'll cost you less than a cup of coffee for a whole month of membership. Have a great day, everybody, and I will see you all next time.